says anything and everything. Hello and warm greetings. Welcome to my channel. Do share your suggestions for future improvement. IMDS, what it means? It means International Material Data System. Historically, we are employing various methods, systems, codes for material identification. These systems typically involve alphanumeric codes to convey specific information about the material. These codes and numbering systems help standardize and communicate information about materials, facilitating proper selection, manufacturing, and quality control processes. Specific systems used depends on the industry, region, type of material required, customer requirement and collaborators stipulation, if any. European norm or EN series. In Europe, steel materials are often classified using a system defined by the European standard, EN. AISISAE steel numbering system. In North America, the American Iron and Steel Institute, AISI, and the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, have a numbering system to identify different types of steel. Historically, for aluminium identification, Aluminium Association or AA alloy designation system is used. This system assigns a 4-digit number to different aluminium alloys. The first digit indicates the major alloying element or group. For plastic identification, Resin Identification Code, RIC, used to identify and sort plastic materials for recycling. It consists of a number inside the recycling symbol, indicating the type of resin used. For copper identification, Unified Numbering System, UNS, is used. Developed by ASTM International and the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, UNS provides a unified classification for various metals and alloys, including copper and copper alloys. Chemical Abstracts Service or CAS registry number is used for chemical substance identification. A unique identifier assigned to chemical substances, providing a standardized way to identify and track chemicals. For electronic components, Joint Electron Device Engineering Council, JDC, defines standards for semiconductor devices and integrated circuits. Electronic Industries Alliance, EIA, defines standards for electronic components and systems. When we have these systems in place and widely across globe are in use, then why we need IMDS? Why we need IMDS? It is simply because none of the above system stipulates about disposal of material and hazardous materials. Now the question is, what is IMDS or International Material Data System? It's an internet-based global material database. It is created by automotive industry. It's for material composition of each component used in a finished vehicle. IMDS helps vehicle manufacturers to minimize environmental impact of ELV or end-of-life vehicles. It defines manufacturers' responsibility for recycling of ELV components. It bans, controls or limits use of dangerous substances and restricted materials in components and/or new vehicles. IMDS provide classification of danger levels of materials and disposition of material used. It also helps for other compliance requirement as stipulated by their country, region or REACH regulations. REACH is a regulation adopted to improve the protection of human health, environment from chemicals. Any company, to meet legal requirements, is expected to recycle 95% of material used. Initially, IMDS was a joint project of Audi, BMW, Daimler Chrysler, Ford Motor Company, Opel, Porsche, Volvo, VW and EDS. Over the years, the original project expanded to include almost all auto manufacturers. DXC hosts central, secure database for OEM and parts manufacturers. Why to use IMDS? Because vehicle manufacturers has to report on the content or materials used in the vehicle to satisfy the various legal requirements of the world, varies from nation to nation. Moreover, certain nations stipulate the material recyclability and reuse mandatory requirements. Each manufacturer needs to develop and implement effectively own system to meet respective governments. Instead of alone, a group of manufacturers decided in the late 90s to develop a common system to satisfy mandatory requirements throughout the automotive supply chain, and that is IMDS, a new standard for the automotive industry. Use of the browser-based IMDS is free for IMDS members or registered companies. A vehicle manufacturer needs to obtain a license for using IMDS platform for their supply chain and supply partners. What it needs is a computer browser and access to the internet to enter data to IMDS. But yes, what one need to have been an active email which does not block email from IMDS. MDS, Material Data Sheet, is the heart of IMDS. Material data sheet is used to transfer the material information from suppliers to customers. It is just like a container holding assemblies, components, materials and/or substances. An organized list with all desired information such as specific names, part numbers, norms, standards, weights. It can provide referencing to other materials or components. It provides a complete list of ingredients with their quantities or weights in a component or assembly. Possible to add further requirements such as quality parameters or attributes. MDS is not MSDS. It does not indicate explosives, dangerous fraction present in the raw form. Basically, MDS is of three types, namely material, semi-component and component. For better understanding, simplicity and uniformity, typical symbols as shown on the screen are used. Possible to attach and child nodes also shown in the table. Component is a complete assembly and have at least one material. Semi-component is same as component but requires another processing to be a component. Material consists of at least one basic substances and other materials only. Basic substances are chemical elements as exist naturally. For further simplification and to make more effective communication, combination of symbols are designed. In combination, a house symbol is used to communicate on company or self-created material data sheet. Globe symbol is used to represent material data sheet which are published on IMDS platform and available to all. Envelope symbol is used to indicate material data sheet received from the suppliers. Every material in material data sheet is ultimately comprised of basic substances represented by icon as shown on the screen. Basic substances list is created and maintained by IMDS Chemical Service Division. It's an elementary chemical block. Each basic substance has its own and very specific name. Every substance has CAS or chemical abstract number. These numbers are allocated by a division of the American Chemical Society. Each substance has EINECS or European Inventory of Existing Commercial Chemical Substances number. MDS is of three different forms. Editable MDS can be changed, released MDS can be changed only with revision, and archived MDS is not active. Use of these forms and probable sharing is as shown in the table. MDS version numbers are unique. For example, if the version number is AA.BB, then AA tells the number of times MDS has been released, whereas BB indicates the number of times MDS changed since its last release. Self-explanatory examples are shown on the screen. Before one starts making or creating an MDS, must decide whether wants to make MDS or module. Module is a basic building block which can be used several times. MDS can be sent to customer for communicating the materials used. MDSs require all three chapters such as ingredients, supplier data, recipient data to be filled in. Modules only require ingredients to be defined, as the rest gets set when used in an MDS. Modules cannot be sent to customer or get assigned to an organization unit. Modules can be used in multiple on MDS. It's mainly of repetitive nature. Information or data required for MDS creation or for entering in the IMDS system. Must know a minimum of 90% of the substances in the material and material classification. Person creating material data sheet shall know applicable public norms and or standards. He is also required to know applicable original equipment manufacturers' in-house norms. It's obvious, should be having knowledge of applicable material symbols. Person responsible for MDS creation must know any special customer requirements, if any. He is also expected to know any other recommendation pertaining to the product. Only having knowledge of an MSDS sheet not sufficient for creating MDS, as it does not contain sufficient information to enter the material. Materials data sheets are best entered by someone with a chemical or materials background and knowledge. Report only materials in their final state. Final state usually does not include gases or liquids. If include liquids or gases in anything apart from 9.x or 7.1, be prepared to defend submission. It is extremely rare, although not unheard of, to have a material composed of only one substance. If have such submission, be prepared to defend it. How to make one material data sheet for a vehicle? Below tier MDS are included in higher tier MDS by giving reference of below tier MDS and thus a pyramid constructed. Vehicle MDS will have Vehicle Final Assembly MDS and reference of Main Assemblies MDS. Similarly, Main Assembly MDS will have its own details and reference of Sub-Assemblies MDS. It will continue downward till the inclusion of substances. Lower level or tier MDS will be referred in the higher level or tier. Thus, a pyramid will be constructed and ultimately will have one MDS giving reference of all materials and substances used. IMDS can be best understood by considering automobile as a tree. Refer the sketch on the screen, which is self-explanatory. Leaves represents the substances, branches as components and assemblies, and trunk as final products or vehicles. In MDS, each level consists of the same types. Mixing of levels is not allowed. Level 1 and 2 are the components. Level 3 are materials. Bottom-most layer, that is, level 4 is basic substances. MDS permits inclusion of only certain children's. Component can have only other components, semi-components or materials as children's. Multi-sourced component material data sheet can have alternative component reference. Semi-component MDS can have other semi-component and materials as children's. Material MDS can have other materials and basic substances as children's. Basic substance MDS will not have any children. Even no other basic substance can be added. Please see the example of MDS tree displayed on the screen. In the example, my test assembly has own my test component 1IH and published owner status test as children's. My test component 1IH is the parent node of published ZA130 and published ST37 to G materials. It can be noted that each level consists of all the same type. Each vehicle manufacturer receives components or assemblies from perhaps 100 Tier 1 suppliers. Each one provides an MDS for each component assembly. These MDSs are further incorporated into a vehicle MDS by reference, resulting in a single component vehicle MDS including 100 component MDSs. Each of these Tier 1 suppliers receives component assemblies and components from 100 Tier 2 suppliers, each of whom provide an MDS for their components, which are in turn referenced by the Tier 1 MDSs and thus included in the overall vehicle MDS. In just 2 tiers, we have 10,000 MDSs included in the vehicle MDS, with each company having produced only one MDS. This continues down the tiers until all the components, the materials used to produce those components, and the basic substances used to produce those materials have been added or disclosed. Please note, in the reality, each company probably supplies more than one item and therefore creates more than one MDS. MDS referencing structure permits identification of entire vehicle content without placing too many in one and avoiding complications. IMDS is a very vast system. One need to study it thoroughly, get accustomed to all terms, definitions, requirement of supplier and or customer before really able to put this system in effective use. Many thanks for sparing time and watching the video. Please do share your views, suggestions in the comment section for improvement. Time to take leave. With warm regards. And see you all soon.